Look around you. Life isn't fair. It never was. Good people get walked on, loyal people get betrayed, and the smartest person in the room, they rarely get the recognition they deserve, because intelligence alone was never the game. The game is power, and nobody taught you how to play it. You were raised to be honest, to be humble, to wait your turn, to trust the system. And while you were busy following those rules, playing by a rule book that was written to keep you manageable, someone else was reading a completely different book. A book written 500 years ago by a man who looked the world dead in the eye, refused to flinch, and wrote down exactly how power actually works. Not how we wish it worked. Not how Sunday school said it worked. How it actually works. And here's what burns the people using these principles against you right now. They never told you the rules changed. They let you keep playing checkers while they were playing chess. Your boss, your rivals, the people who smile at your face and undermine you behind closed doors. They're not smarter than you. They're just operating from a framework you were never given access to. Until now. From this moment forward, that changes. 500 years ago, one man figured out the real principles of power, not as theory, not as philosophy, but as cold, surgical observation of how human beings actually behave when status, survival, and control are on the line. That man was Machiavelli, diplomat, strategist, political advisor, and the most misunderstood genius in human history. He didn't write fairy tales. He wrote truth. Uncomfortable, razor-sharp, world-altering truth. And today, I'm going to break down 7 of his most devastating laws of power. The ones that will transform you from someone who gets outmaneuvered at every turn to someone who sees the entire board before anyone else even sits down. These aren't tricks. These aren't manipulation tactics designed to hurt people. Here's the brutal truth. I'm not telling you to become evil. I'm showing you how to protect yourself, position yourself, and dominate your outcomes in a world that absolutely does not play fair. You don't bring kindness to a chess match. You bring strategy. Before we go any further, drop this affirmation in the comments right now. I see the game. Say it and mean it. Because after today, you will. Let's begin. Number 1. Master the art of controlled perception. Here's what nobody tells you. You are not judged by who you are. You are judged by what people believe you are. And those are 2 entirely different things. The most capable person in the room loses to the most perceived capable person every single time. This is not cynicism. This is the operating system of human social reality, and Machiavelli understood it with frightening precision. People don't have time to study you deeply. They don't have the patience, the attention span, or the desire to look beneath the surface. They take in your posture, your silence, your clothes, your tone of voice, your confidence, and they build a mental model of you in seconds. That mental model becomes their truth about you. And here's the brutal part. Once that model is built, almost nothing you say will change it. Only what you project consistently over time will. Machiavelli once said, "Everyone sees what you appear to be. Few experience what you really are." Think about that. Everyone sees the appearance. Few experience the reality. Which means the battle for power is not fought in boardrooms or confrontations. It's fought in the theater of daily perception. If you want power, you must become the architect of your own image. Not fake, not performative, intentional. Picture this: 2 men walk into a meeting. One arrives 5 minutes early, speaks only when necessary, and when he does speak, he speaks slowly and with absolute certainty. The other arrives just on time, fills every silence with nervous chatter, and over-explains every point to make sure everyone understands. Who do you trust with the important decision? Who feels like the leader? The first man didn't say more. He controlled more, through perception management, through presence, through strategic restraint. Most people try to win respect by talking more, explaining more, proving more. The powerful do the opposite. They let their image speak before their mouth opens. Here's what this looks like in practice. From this moment forward, audit what you project. Walk slower. Speak with pauses. Stop over-explaining yourself to people who haven't earned that level of access to your thinking. Let the silence around your words carry weight. Control the frame, and you control how people experience you before you ever say a word. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I control my image. Number 2. Weaponize your silence. Most people are terrified of silence. They fill it immediately with words, with laughter, with justification, with explanation. And every single time they do, they hand over a piece of their power without realizing it. Silence is not emptiness. Silence is pressure, and in the hands of someone who understands dark psychology, it is one of the most devastatingly effective tools in existence. Here's what nobody tells you about silence. It forces the other person's mind to fill the gap. When you speak less, others speak more. And the more they speak, the more they reveal their insecurities, their motives, their true position. You learn everything. You give away nothing. That asymmetry of information is where real power lives. The one who talks most in a negotiation, a conflict, or even a conversation loses. Every time. Machiavelli once said, "The wise man does at once what the fool does finally." The wise man acts from knowledge. The fool acts from impulse, and impulse loves to speak. When you train yourself to pause, to observe, to respond, instead of react, you have already won half the battle before a single move is made. Think about that moment at work. Someone challenges your decision in front of the group. They're loud, they're confident, they want a reaction. Most people rush to defend themselves, stumbling over words, getting emotional, proving the challenger's power over their state of mind. But the person who pauses, who looks at the challenger with calm, unreadable eyes, lets the silence sit for just 3 full seconds longer than is comfortable, and then speaks slowly. Deliberately, that person just shifted the entire room's perception. The challenger looks impulsive. The silent one looks powerful. Nothing was said, except everything. Most people see silence as weakness, as having nothing to offer, as losing the moment. The powerful understand that silence is a weapon. It creates discomfort in others, forces revelation, and signals an unshakable inner world. Here's what this looks like in practice. Next time someone challenges you, attacks you, or tries to provoke a reaction, don't give them what they want immediately. Pause, breathe. Let the silence expand until it fills the space. Then, respond from a place of total control. Practice this in small moments until it becomes instinct. Your silence will say more than their words ever could. Drop this affirmation in the comments. Silence is my weapon. Number 3. Never reveal your full hand. Power loves mystery. The moment people think they have you figured out, your leverage disappears. The moment they know your plans, your goals, your insecurities, your next move, they can counter you, dismiss you, or worse, use what you've shared against you. Machiavelli understood that the most powerful force in any power dynamic is the unknown, and the person who stays unknown stays in control. Think about water. You can hold it back. You can redirect it. But you cannot grip it. The most powerful person in any room is the one they cannot grip, the one they cannot predict, cannot read, cannot fully understand. This isn't about being cold or robotic. This is about being strategically incomplete, giving people enough to be intrigued, never enough to be fully decoded. Machiavelli once said, "The lion cannot protect himself from traps, and the fox cannot defend himself from wolves. One must be a fox to recognize traps, and a lion to frighten wolves." Be the fox. The fox doesn't charge forward with everything exposed. The fox observes, adapts, and moves with calculated invisibility. In the modern world, this means your plans stay private until they're executed. Your vulnerabilities stay invisible until they're resolved. Your next move stays unknown until it's already happening. Picture someone at work, constantly sharing their ideas in early stages, excited, wanting feedback, wanting validation. And watch how often those ideas get dismissed, stolen, or undermined before they ever launch. Now, picture the person who says nothing, builds in silence, and then presents a fully formed, already successful plan. Who commands more respect? Who has more power? The second person didn't hide out of fear. They protected their vision from cognitive dissonance, from the doubt of others poisoning their momentum. Most people overshare because they confuse transparency with trustworthiness. The powerful understand that mystery is currency. The less predictable you are, the more valuable your attention and your presence become. Here's what this looks like in practice. Stop announcing your goals before they're achieved. Stop sharing your strategies with people who haven't proven their loyalty. Stop explaining your next move to anyone who isn't directly involved in executing it. Build in silence. Win in public. Drop this affirmation in the comments. I am unpredictable. Number 4. Make people come to you. This is one of the most psychologically sophisticated laws Machiavelli ever observed, and it goes against everything you've been trained to do. You've been taught to be proactive, to pursue, to reach out, to chase opportunity, and there is a version of that which is powerful. But here's the brutal truth. The moment you consistently chase people, chase validation, chase approval, you have handed them the throne and made yourself the servant. The scarcity principle is one of the most primitive drivers of human psychology. We assign value based on availability. What is rare is precious. What is abundant is cheap. If you are always available, always responding immediately, always eager, always present, you signal that your time, attention, and energy have no particular value, and people will treat you accordingly with casual disregard, knowing you'll always be there when they want you. Machiavelli once said, "Benefits ought to be conferred gradually, and in that way they will taste better. Give everything all at once, and it loses its flavor. Deliver yourself gradually, your attention, your time, your effort, and every interaction carries weight." This isn't manipulation. This is the economics of personal energy. And understanding this changes every relationship dynamic you are currently in. Imagine a man in a social circle who is always available, always the one who follows up first, who plans everything, who makes himself indispensable through constant availability. And watch how the group treats him, taken for granted, barely appreciated, the last one anyone worries about losing. Now picture the man who is genuinely engaged when present, but also has a life that calls him away, who doesn't chase, who doesn't overinvest in people who underinvest in him. That man becomes the one people wonder about, the one people try to impress, the one whose presence actually means something. Most people chase and wonder why they're not valued. The powerful create gravitational pull and let others orbit around them. Here's what this looks like in practice. Start pulling back your availability strategically. Let some messages breathe before responding. Say no to things that don't serve you, without explanation or guilt. Invest your energy in things that build your life, and watch as the people who took you for granted suddenly reevaluate what you're worth. Your absence amplifies your power. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My absence amplifies my power. Number 5. Transform your pain into weaponized fuel. Here's what separates the powerful from the broken, not the absence of pain, but what they do with it. Every person reading this has been betrayed, dismissed, underestimated, or humiliated at some point. That experience either defeats you or becomes the most potent fuel you have ever had access to. Machiavelli understood this at a visceral level because he himself was imprisoned, tortured, and exiled for his beliefs. And from that darkness, he wrote the most powerful political treatise in human history. Your pain is not a wound to be nursed. It is an asset to be converted. The anger you feel when someone disrespects you, that is energy. The humiliation of being overlooked, that is motivation with a knife's edge. The betrayal that still burns when you think about it, that is rocket fuel. The question is never whether you've been hurt. The question is whether you're sophisticated enough to convert that hurt into something that makes you completely, utterly untouchable. Machiavelli once said, "Never was anything great achieved without danger." And the greatest danger most men face is not an external enemy, it's the internal collapse that happens when pain goes unprocessed, when it festers into bitterness, when it hardens into victimhood. The powerful don't become victims of their pain, they become students of it. They extract every lesson, every insight, every edge that suffering can give them, and then they move. Think about a man who was publicly humiliated, passed over for a promotion he clearly deserved, given to someone with less experience but better politics. Two responses are possible. He can grow bitter, resentful, and defeated, letting that event define his ceiling. Or he can let that moment light a fire so controlled and so sustained that 5 years later he's built something that dwarfs the position he was denied. The pain didn't break him, it built him. Most people let their wounds become their identity. The powerful let their wounds become their weapon, carried quietly, channeled precisely, deployed through relentless forward motion. Here's what this looks like in practice. Take the thing that hurt you most, the betrayal, the dismissal, the underestimation, and write down exactly what it cost you. Then write down exactly what you're going to build because of it. Not in spite of the pain. Because of it. Use the memory not to spiral, but to drive. Let every person who ever doubted you become a silent target that your success will outlast. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My pain builds power. Number 6. Enforce boundaries without explanation or apology. One of the most disrespected men in any room is the one who has rules but never enforces them. He says, "Don't do that," and when it happens again, he says it again. He warns, he threatens, he negotiates, he explains, he justifies. And with every round of explanation, his authority dissolves further, because the message received is clear: my words have no real consequence. And once that message is received, you are no longer a force. You are a suggestion. Here's the brutal truth. Respect is not built through conversation. It is built through consistent, unapologetic enforcement of consequence. People do not respect what you say. They respect what you do when your words are ignored. The moment you enforce a real consequence calmly, without drama, without a long speech, the entire dynamic shifts. Because now they know your limits have teeth. And a person whose limits have teeth is a person nobody crosses lightly. Machiavelli once said, "He who wishes to be obeyed must know how to command." Command is not volume. Command is not aggression. Command is the quiet certainty that if you have said something will happen, it will happen. No negotiation, no softening, no need for the other person's understanding or approval. This is what mental sovereignty looks like in daily life. Picture a man in a relationship where his partner regularly dismisses his concerns, minimizes his feelings, or crosses lines he's clearly communicated. He keeps the peace by swallowing it, by explaining one more time, by hoping they'll understand. Nothing changes. The boundary isn't the problem, the lack of consequence is. Now picture the version of that man who, the next time the line is crossed, simply and calmly reduces his investment, pulls back his energy, his time, his emotional availability without announcement, without drama. The partner notices. The dynamic shifts, not because of what he said, but because of what he did. Most people over-explain their boundaries because they want others to agree that the boundaries are fair. The powerful set limits and enforce them without needing a single person's approval or understanding. Here's what this looks like in practice. Identify the one boundary in your life that keeps getting crossed. Stop explaining it. Stop renegotiating it. The next time it's violated, apply the consequence you've been delaying. No speech. No anger, just action. Calm, decisive, immovable action. Watch how fast respect returns when people realize your words have weight. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My boundaries protect me. Number 7. Build your mind into an unbreakable fortress. Everything we've talked about today, the perception control, the strategic silence, the mystery, the scarcity, the pain conversion, the boundary enforcement, none of it works if the foundation is cracked. And the foundation is your mind. If your mind can be destabilized by a comment, triggered by a look, shattered by rejection, or hijacked by someone else's chaos, then every tool we've given you today becomes useless. Because you'll reach for them too late, after you've already reacted from a broken state. The most dangerous person in any room is not the loudest, the richest, or the most connected. It is the person whose mind cannot be moved. The person who processes everything from a position of total internal stability, who can be insulted without flinching, pressured without bending, provoked without erupting. That person is playing a completely different game than everyone else in the room, and they are winning by simply remaining steady while everyone else destabilizes. Machiavelli once said, "He who is not master of himself will always be a servant of others." Read that again and feel its weight. If your emotions are controlled by external events, by what people say, what people do, what people think of you, then you are not free. You are reactive. And a reactive man is a controllable man. The moment you master your internal state, the moment you become the calm in your own storm, you become genuinely, fundamentally uncontrollable. And uncontrollable men cannot be manipulated. Imagine a man who walks into every environment knowing that nothing happening around him has the power to break him. A colleague tries to embarrass him in a meeting. He receives it with complete calm and responds with precision. A friend delivers a brutal criticism. He doesn't collapse or retaliate. He processes it with detachment and extracts whatever is useful. Someone he cares about tries to manipulate him through emotional pressure. He feels it, acknowledges it internally, and refuses to be moved from his position. This man is not cold. He is not robotic. He feels, but he does not fall. Most people let the world conduct their emotions. Like an orchestra, every event a different instrument, pulling them in a different direction. The powerful become their own conductor, choosing what they respond to, how they respond, and from what internal state they operate. Here's what this looks like in practice. Start building your fortress mind today through one daily practice. When something triggers an emotional reaction, pause before responding for a minimum of 10 seconds. Use that pause to ask one question. Is this reaction serving my goals or betraying them? If it betrays them, you redirect. Do this consistently, and over time the fortress becomes automatic. Your peace stops being something the world gives you and starts being something the world cannot take from you. Drop this affirmation in the comments. My mind is a fortress. You've learned to control the perception people hold of you before you ever speak a single word. You've discovered that your silence is not weakness. It is your most underestimated weapon. You've mastered the art of keeping your plans invisible until they are already winning. You've understood that creating pull, letting people come to you, is the economics of real power. You've converted your pain from a wound into the most potent fuel you have ever had access to. You've committed to enforcing your limits not through conversation, but through calm, unapologetic consequence. And you've begun the most important construction project of your life, building a mind that cannot be broken, moved, or owned by anyone but you. You started this video as someone who had been playing a game without knowing the rules. You're finishing it as someone who not only knows the rules, but is already thinking 3 moves ahead. That is not a small shift. That is everything. You are no longer the person who gets outmaneuvered, overlooked, and talked over. You are the person who walks into rooms and changes the gravity of them. You are the person whose presence is felt before a single word is spoken. You are the person who others are now trying to read and failing. Warning: the world will test your new strength immediately, and it will do it fast. The moment you enforce a boundary, someone will push back harder. The moment you use your silence as a weapon, someone will accuse you of being cold. The moment you stop chasing validation, someone will call you arrogant. Your old patterns will rise up with the familiar comfort of who you used to be, and they will whisper that this is too hard, too isolating, too much. Do not listen. Every man who ever became powerful went through exactly this moment, the moment where the old self and the new self are at war. Stand firm in what you now know. The discomfort you feel is not failure, it is transformation. And transformation is supposed to feel like pressure. You've come too far to retreat now, and the version of you that exists on the other side of this discomfort, he is worth every single second of the fight. Say this in the comments right now, and mean every single word. I am untouchable. If this video shifted something real in you today, if you felt at least one of these laws land somewhere deep, hit that like button right now. Share this with someone in your life who needs to hear it. Someone who's been playing the game without the rules for too long. Subscribe and ring the bell, because the next lesson in power is already built and already waiting for you. In a world designed to keep you manageable, the most dangerous thing you can become is a man who finally understands the game.